Not all Robs. I know I said I was going to start the Robinson Jeffers Festival of Reading come the January 10th, his birthday or birth date. But I started reading not the title poem from this book, but the narrative, the long narrative poem from Be Angry at the Sun, which I think was written in the 1940s, early 1940s, perhaps. Let's see. But I started reading it the other day, and I'm just like, I want to know what happens because I've forgotten a lot of these books because a lot of the stories are similar. First printing, 1941. To Donnan and Garth, his sons. I will read the note to the book, even though it has nothing to do with the poem itself that I'm going to read. I will skip that part. Due acknowledgments are made, but I also wish to lament the obsession with contemporary history that pins many of these pieces to the calendar, like butterflies to cardboard. Poetry is not private monologue, but I think it is not public speech either. And in general, it is the worst for being timely. That is why, for the next to the latest written poem of this book, I sought out a drunken fisherman who lives solitary in his hut under a cliff and has no radio, no newspaper, no intelligent friends, nothing but fish and whiskey. Drugged hermit, his mind should have been as dateless as the ocean, but he too began to babble about public affairs, and I stopped him off. Yet it is right that a man's views be expressed, though the poetry suffer for it. Poetry should represent the whole mind. If part of the mind is occupied unhappily, so much the worse, and no use postponing the poetry to a time when these storms may have passed, for I think we have but seen the beginning of them. The calm to look for is the calm at the whirlwind's heart. I will show you the contents. Most of these are short poems. Bowl of Blood is a fairly long one, and Mara, the one which I am reading, is the longest of the book. I believe the poem he was talking about was Drunken Charlie, but that's not my concern. Be Angry at the Sun and Other Poems is the book. These sections are rather short, so it's going to be broken up into those sections because I'm not going to be able to read 60 pages that quick. Mara, 1. Walking up from the barn to the house in the moon cloud light, Ferguson saw a stranger standing up the slope on the right. What do you want? Hey, you, come here. The intruder paid no attention, and Ferguson went up to him. The fellow turned, a man as tall as himself, but backed against the moon spot in the cloud. It was impossible to see his face. Ferguson said again, What do you want here? Looking up at him, who stood higher on the steep slope and hatefully familiar, although unknown, the stranger answered in a whispering, hollow-chested voice like a consumptive's. How long will you be satisfied? Or else how long will you endure it? The words were never exactly remembered, for this figure of a man speaking receded, then resolved itself into streaks and spots of shadow and light on the brown, bracken, gray grass and moonshot cloud, while Ferguson, angry and afraid, felt his scalp prickle, not superstitious, but angry at his own senses playing tricks. And that it was true he could hardly endure. What? For he had lived the best of possible lives for a man of his race, a cattle-driving and horseback life on his own place, on the free mountains, and intelligent enough to know it the best, and married to a beautiful girl, all wants fulfilled, not his own life chiefly, but life in general, looked dirty, senseless, and destitute. In his dark times, Christ, what more do I want? Nothing. The intruder was visible again. He saw its face before it vanished. The face was his own. When he went down, one of his own dogs growled at him and ran yelping into the darkness.